everyone, this is Skylar with Screenveil Gaming, and today I have a deck that I made that I wanted to share with you because it has some really interesting interactions that I was surprised to discover, but also that I have not seen anyone else talking about. So I wanted to share it here. So let's get into it. This is going to be a white-black lifegain deck primarily, but again with some really unique elements. I'll start over here with the enchantments we're using. So we've got 2 Authority of Consuls, which for anyone who's unfamiliar, this, if it's down, it makes it so your opponents, all of their creatures enter tapped, and you gain 1 life anytime they put a creature on the battlefield. So that's super helpful. We have 2 Case of the Uneaten Feast, which is going to make it so anytime we put a creature on the battlefield, we get a life. So if both of those are down at the same time, you know, you're getting a lot of life just as the game's being played. And then to compound the effects of both of those further, we have 2 Lay of Hope. And I like this one a lot because if you do have it in your starting hand, it can be put down immediately, which is a nice little bonus. But even if you end up putting it down later, this makes it so if you gain life from any source, you gain that much plus 1 instead. And as long as we have basically 27 life or above, any of our creatures on the battlefield get plus 2/2 counter. So again, really great for just compounding the life gain effects of everything we have going on so far. And then I'd like to get into the creatures over here first, because that's where the interactions I mentioned earlier are going to be coming from. So we'll start with just kind of our basic cast. We have 4 Angel of Vitality. Reason for that is that, it's a relatively cheap mana cost, but she also compounds all the effects from our enchantments even further. Very similar to Leyline of Hope. If you would gain life, you gain that much plus 1 instead. And she also gets a plus as long as we have 25 or more. So that essentially means that with all those things in play, we'll be getting a lot of life for every single passive life gain effect that we have. And with Leyline and her both active, if we have 27 life or above, we'll be getting plus 4 on her and then 2 to everyone else, which is really great. We have 2 Dazzling Angel. Originally I had 4 of these, but I actually split that between Dazzling and the Overseer because they both have a bit of a life gain effect. This one is whenever another creature enters, so that is really helpful alongside everything else. But I put 2 of these in here so that we could also have a bit of card drawing going on, since that's not really a strength of this deck. So that's what those are for. And then we have 2 Exemplar of Light. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. When you do that 1 or more times, you draw a card. So really helpful for just buffing that creature up and drawing a card. But what I want to talk about is the really unique interactions I mentioned earlier. So there's 2 win conditions we're going for here. The first one has to do with the Blight Priest and the Conqueror. So essentially with this, whenever you gain 1 life, each opponent loses 1 life. Pretty basic. But with him, whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much. So essentially what we're going for is if you can get both of these on the field at once, just 1 of each of them down on the battlefield together, and then you gain 1 life from anywhere, whether that's, passively from our enchantments before or from whatever. If that happens, it triggers a feedback loop chain reaction effect that's just going to keep going. And it's going to tick your opponent's health all the way down to 0, and you'll win the game. So I was pretty shocked to discover that the first time. It was totally by accident. And then when I read these descriptions a bit more closely, it made sense, the way they just trigger each other indefinitely. but really cool, really satisfying. And, you know, being a life gain deck, this is so resilient that you'll be able to tank a lot of hits until you can get that on the field, and then you'll win if you do. So pretty cool that way. But we do have a backup, so if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, you just can't get them on the field together, you know, due to bad cards, due to removal from an opponent, whatever. Our sort of plan B effect is if you get Exemplar of Light and the Apocalypse here on the field together, very similar thing happens. Reason for that is, again, this gets a counter from any life you gain, and when that happens, you draw a card. And the drawing a card is the important piece, because if we look at the Apocalypse, whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. So they also trigger each other indefinitely, because if you draw a card, you get 2 life from the Apocalypse, which then in turn is going to put 2 more counters on this. So you'll draw another card, which will then trigger this. And you get the idea. It's just going to keep going. So that one is not going to tick your opponent's health down, but it is going to make it to where the game ends, because this just keeps triggering. You're going to just gain life indefinitely, and your opponent's going to quit because it's over. They can't do anything. So that's our backup. Again, both highly effective, really fun. So yeah, those are the goals of the deck. And then I'll just very quickly go over the rest of what we have in here. We have Elspeth's Smite for removal. Super helpful, especially, you know, for taking attacking creatures by surprise. Very good. Split Up is more like desperate removal. It's definitely mostly there for when you're playing against highly aggressive, you know, token decks. Really good for that. And then we have Sheltered by Ghosts, which is just an amazing card. This one, you know, it can remove artifacts, so and enchantments actually, so I really like it for that primarily, but you can also, you know, remove an opponent, like a creature, anything like that, and in the process you're able to give yourself ward and lifelink, which again, lifelink is just great for everything else we have going on, especially if you put it on a flying creature that, you know, can gain that back more easily. It's really great. And then the last big one I want to talk about is Grievous Wound, because I really love this card, but I put this in here because I have played this deck against other life gain decks, and especially like the Heir Apparent, you know, crazy rabbit one that's going around and really popular right now. And, you know, I've noticed this deck still tends to win because of those conditions I talked about earlier. But why I like this card is if you do, I mean, it's great for anybody, but especially if you go up against another life gain deck and you're able to play this, this makes it so the opponent can no longer gain life. So it kind of ruins their whole plan. And on top of that, it makes it so if they take any direct player damage, they lose half of all of their life. So nothing else to really say about that. It's just a really great card. And then these two here are completely interchangeable, but I just chose these. Kind of a couple artifacts. We have the Aether, really great for drawing, getting counters, and for mana. And then I like the Sword of Wealth and Power because it gives the equipped creature a +2. It also makes it so you can generate treasure tokens, and my favorite part about it is when you cast an instant or a sorcery, you can copy that spell. So you get to maximize the efficiency of that, which won't work for Sheltered, but it will work for Split Up. It will work for Elspeth, and it will also work for this. The only other card I didn't talk about, which is an instant that allows us to draw a card and then gain life equal to the amount of cards that we have. So again, just another way to gain more life for the creatures that get triggered by that and get counters. That happens, and we get more cards. But if you were to, use this in tandem with the Sword of Wealth and Power, you basically get to do that twice. So anyway, guys, that's the deck, and I really hope you like it. I would love, feel free to reach out in the comments. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you played with it, what your experience and your thoughts were. I'd also love to hear about, any other recommendations you have for decks you'd like to see, things you want me to explore. I'm planning on releasing a deck list video similar to this at least once a week, ideally twice. I've already got some others lined up, but anything you're interested in me exploring, I would be more than happy to do so. So please let me know about that. And then lastly, this is a new channel, so I just wanted to let you know that I also have a Discord server set up, Screenveil Gaming, that is going to be dedicated to, Magic the Gathering and Arena stuff for now. There's a lot of different things going on there. There's different features. There are some, membership options available but not required. So got the Discord server there, and then I've also got a Twitch channel where I'll be doing, again, at least 2 live streams per week, possibly 3. And I will list on the schedule what the topics of those are going to be as they change, but there will be a variety of things. I want to do some deck building stuff in that. I want to do some ranked play. I'd also like to be able to show you actual gameplay of these decks, so I'll be doing that as well. And yeah, anyway, good luck. Till next time. Thanks.